guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Alice. I go by HulloAlice here on YouTube and I make art videos. And for today's video, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I had been kind of working on this sketch in Procreate just for fun. Like, there is no real purpose behind it other than just to kind of like, I wanted to try to be a little bit more free and loose with my sketch, which I think I accomplished, but then I'm not sure that I really kept any of that looseness when I refined it, so that kind of sucks. But I don't know, I just kind of wanted to play around and have fun. I wasn't necessarily like intending this to be a video or a finished piece, but I didn't really have any ideas and I was liking how it came out, so I decided to finish it using a screen recording and show you guys kind of what it's like for me when I'm just kind of sketching on things for myself or stuff that isn't really like necessarily meant to be like really finished pieces. So I mean, it is like semi-finished, but it's not like there's like a story behind it or anything like that. It's just like a pretty girl. But because of that, I decided that it would be good to maybe do a little Q&A during this video and just kind of answer some questions I had asked on Instagram a while back if anyone had any questions, and I have a bunch of questions from Instagram and some from Twitter as well that I'm going to be answering about like art and life and all of that good stuff. So I'm going to jump into that, but before I do, I will just give you some quick information. I am drawing this in the app Procreate on the iPad Pro. And then I'm using the Apple Pencil, and the brushes that I used for most of this were they're all like the default brushes, but to sketch I use the 6B pencil. To fill in I use the hard airbrush, and then throughout for my shading I used the gouache brush, the soft airbrush, the hard airbrush, the wet acrylic, and oil paint brushes. So that's kind of everything that I used in this picture. So if you have any other questions, you can ask them down below, but I'm gonna go ahead and jump on into the Q&A now. So I'm gonna start with some questions from Twitter, and if I didn't answer your question, I did get a lot of questions. I had like over 200 on my Instagram alone, so I can't really answer everything. And some of the questions that I skipped were ones that had already been asked. So I had a lot of questions about like my inspirations or my favorite mediums and stuff like that. And I believe that I answered those in my previous Q&A video. So I will link the other Q&A video down below. If your question didn't get answered, please check that out and see if it's in that video. I also had quite a few questions about how I motivate myself to draw or what I do with art block, and I have a couple videos about art block and motivation as well, so I will link those down below as well if you guys want to check them out after you watch this video. So the first question that I'm going to answer is by Duchanez on Twitter, and they said, do you think art is 100% subjective? Absolutely not. I don't think art is 100% subjective, and I think that might be a bit of a controversial answer, but I think there are objective qualities to art. A lot of people say that art doesn't have rules, but I actually completely disagree with that. I think that art does have rules. I don't think that you necessarily have to follow all of those rules, but I think you should be aware of them. And when I refer to the rules of art, I refer to the principles and elements of art, things that define a good composition, line, shape, color theory, proportion. You can intentionally break those rules, but I do think it's really important to be aware of them, and I do think that you can look at something and like objectively determine like, does it have good composition or does it have good color theory? Obviously some people have like different opinions, and I know a lot of people think the art is 100% subjective, so if you think that, that's cool, don't come for me, but I just don't think the art is 100% subjective. I think that there are technical measurements that you can use to kind of at least get you started on what you think of a piece. I mean, obviously a lot of art is subjective, but 100%, no, I don't think it's 100%. So the next question is from Graphic Kraken. This is also on Twitter, and they asked, what was my biggest YouTube fail? I feel like I've had a few YouTube fails, ranging from like just breaking equipment to videos and art pieces that never worked out. But there was a video that I uploaded a little while back, like last summer or last spring, I think it was like a year ago. And like, this actually made me really sad because I was really excited for this video. I spent forever on this video. It's a sewing tutorial, and it's like make your own brush like pen roll. And I uploaded it, and I worked so hard on editing it and like making it really, really cute, and it did not get a lot of views, especially compared to my other videos that were happening, and it's still gotten some views. Like, as time has gone by, it's like gotten a lot more views, but it still is one of my lowest performing videos, and that makes me so sad because I loved that video and I was super, super proud of it, and like everyone was like, no, we don't really want to watch this, and I was like, well, I like it. So that's probably my biggest fail, just because I was super excited about the video and it just didn't really perform very well. Next question is from Katie Vaughn, and she said, what 3 art supplies would you want if you were stranded on a desert island? And that's from Twitter as well. And I thought this was a really, really good question. And I kind of like, I feel like there's two answers. So like I could do like a sketchbook with watercolor and regular paper, and I could do like maybe a paintbrush and like my watercolor travel set, but then I don't have a pencil, right? And then eventually I'm gonna run out of pages in the paper. So maybe like my iPad Pro, my Apple Pencil, and then like solar power so I could charge it. I don't know if solar power counts as an art supply, but like ideally, I would want to go for traditional art because I do like traditional art a little bit more, but digital art, if I had digital art, then theoretically I could draw as much as I wanted, and as long as I had a way to charge it, then, you know, I wouldn't have to worry about running out of supplies, and I could do like a lot of different kind of styles and colors and things like that, so maybe that. I did think that was a really interesting question though. Tessa on Twitter said, did you ever have a moment in your YouTube career that made you want to stop making videos? I've had a lot of these moments, honestly, but they've never been related to like hate comments or like mean comments or mean people. It's always just been like I just burn out. Like I work a lot, and my YouTube videos do take quite a long time, so it's always just been related to me burning out, not having content ideas, or feeling pressured like I have to make content, like I have to stick to a schedule. I really don't like letting people down, so when I commit to something, I really like to stick with that commitment. So sometimes like the pressure can get to me a little bit, but I haven't stopped yet, so no plans on it in the future, at least nothing permanent. So I'm gonna jump over to Instagram and look at some Instagram questions. Liv Longo 26 wants to know how long I've had December for. December is my Border Collie Blue Heeler mix puppy. She's not a puppy, she's 8. But I got her 3 years ago. She was 5 when I adopted her. Chio Mag Bim says, what is something you like doing but you suck at it? Singing. I really like to sing. I sing along to like all of the songs in the car and like Taylor Swift and like all my music, but I'm not that good of a singer, especially not like high notes. Like I'm an alto, so yeah. Oh, this is an interesting one. Dagara Batos on Instagram says, do you recommend starting a YouTube channel despite all the stuff that is going on with smaller channels? Love your videos. Thank you so much, first of all. Second of all, yeah, I absolutely recommend starting a YouTube channel. I do think it's frustrating that there isn't another alternate option out there. YouTube kind of has a monopoly on video platforms right now, which is frustrating because, and this will kind of jump into another question because I think somebody else asked me if I agree with like YouTube and what they've been doing. I don't agree with what YouTube is doing at all right now. I have a lot of opinions on this. I've shared them in the past. I don't agree with the monetization changes towards smaller channels. I strongly oppose it, actually. I think it's a terrible decision. I don't agree with them censoring and deleting content and then letting other content that is way worse stay up, like Logan Paul. I think YouTube is making a lot of mistakes, and I think that they have shown time and time again that they care a lot more about their advertisers and about revenue than they do about their creators, and to them creators are just a way to make money. Like I honestly think that's what it is, and I would love to say that YouTube cares about us, but at the end of the day, YouTube is a corporation, they're a company, they're here to make money. Their advertisers are always going to come before their creators, and they're always going to come before their users. That's not like something I'm like throwing shade at, it's just a fact. They are a company, they're here to make money, that's their job. No, like that's like, I'm not gonna be mad at a company for trying to make money, but I do disagree with a lot of the decisions they've been making. But that said, I do recommend starting a YouTube channel. It is so much fun, and even, you know, as long as you're not starting a YouTube channel to like get YouTube famous or anything like that, because it is hard and it does take a lot of time to build up a following. But if you're just doing it because it's fun and because you really enjoy it, then it won't matter how small or how big your following is. You'll want to do it anyway. So I would definitely recommend it. It's been a great thing for me. Like, I've loved this community and all the people that I've met. It's been so influential on me, and I wouldn't change it for the world. So yeah, definitely get involved. If you want to make a channel, make a channel. So the next question is by Kai Just Kai, and they said, they recall me saying that I had to work in the last 3 market challenge. Do you work full time? What do you do for work? How do you balance work on your channel? That's a lot of questions. I know inquisitive minds want to know. And this was asked by a couple other people as well. I don't know if I still have their names, but there's a couple people that asked me about my job, and like, yeah, so basically I do work full-time, 40 hours a week, and I work as a motion graphics designer for a security software company, and basically I make training and marketing videos for that company. Motion graphics design is a form of animation. It's not character animation typically, but I do sometimes do some character and puppet animation. I work in After Effects all day, for the most part. Sometimes I'm in Premiere, but mostly I work in After Effects, and I love my job so much. It is a great job. It's a great company, for somebody especially that's like right out of college and still kind of figuring things out, because my degree was in 3D animation and I'm actually doing 2D right now, and that's what I want to pursue as well. So yeah, that was, I really like my company a lot, but it is very hard to balance work and my channel. The way that I do it right now is not super effective. It's definitely the best. It's the best way I've been able to balance it so far, which is I wake up at 5 to 5:30 in the morning every day, and I usually try to get in 1 to 2 hours of YouTube work if possible before I go to work in the morning, or I will try to get all my chores done in the morning so that when I get home from work I can just do YouTube stuff. I also work YouTube on the weekends, and basically I would say that YouTube takes up the majority of my free time. Most of my free time is spent on YouTube outside of work, although I do like go to yoga and stuff like that. So it's just a matter of making it a priority, but it is easy to get burned out. So I do sometimes try to like balance things out with videos that are a little bit easier or a little bit quicker to film if I'm just a little bit overwhelmed. Triple Annie Awesome says, what was your favorite video you've made? I've made a lot of videos that I'm actually really proud of. I really love, the ones that stick out to me is what's in my travel art bag. I love that video. It was one of the first times I was really creative with my editing, and I still love that video. Along with that, I also love my top 10, I think it's top 10 art supplies of all time. Again, I got really creative with the editing, and just whenever that happens, I'm super happy. That video took me forever and ever to create. So that's one of my favorites. And I also really love my how to make art when you don't want to make art video. My acting is really cringy in it, but I worked really hard on it, and having like multiple me's and all the different characters and costume changes, and I worked very hard on that video, and I feel like it really showed a creative side. So I think it's interesting that all of my favorite videos are ones where I was really creative with the editing, and that's like what I do for a living. Let's see. Quinnerin asked, how do you cure the same face syndrome? So I don't know if I'm a great person to answer this, because I definitely deal with same face syndrome. Basically, same face syndrome is where all of your characters kind of look alike. They have similar features, similar eyes, similar noses, and the way that it tends to happen is you learn how to draw something a certain way, and it becomes essentially a symbol. You're drawing a symbol, you're drawing things the exact same way, and you're just changing like the hair color or the skin color. And I'm definitely super guilty of this. I do try to be aware of it, but I think that when I'm doing more final art, I tend to end up defaulting to the way that I normally draw things, because it's like this pretty general girl, and I'm like afraid to maybe step out of that box. But I would just say really try to push your shapes and try to draw things that aren't necessarily conventionally attractive, like a bumpy nose. Try to like make the face longer or wider or eyes smaller, play with different eye shapes. Just really try to push your shapes and exaggerate them like way too much, and then you can always tone that down later. But hopefully that will help you break out of your same facey shell. But it's definitely a struggle that I can relate to. But you also want to have a consistent style as well, so you know there's a balance to be met. Tenoshi_girl_art says, what are your goals for your future in art? So I have a lot of goals. Like obviously I want to improve my art, improve my anatomy, all of that good stuff. But career-wise, so I don't want to be a full-time YouTuber. That is not a goal of mine. It's just too unstable, especially with all of the decisions that YouTube are making. I prefer to have my kind of, I don't know, it's just not something that I really want permanently. I mean, it'd be fun for a little bit, but it's just not what I want for my like career. I want to work for a motion graphics design firm, and maybe eventually do motion graphics freelance. I'd love to work about 50% of the time doing freelance motion graphics and 50% of the time doing freelance illustration. So that would be my YouTube channel. It would be selling prints, selling art, doing commissions, doing book cover illustrations or book illustrations, all of that kind of stuff. So I'd kind of like to split my time up 50-50, because that way I won't get bored and I can indulge my two passions, which is illustration and motion graphics. Pemichi on Instagram says, do you like to read? If so, what is your favorite book? First of all, that is the hardest question that anyone has asked me this whole time. I love to read. I read every single day. I read in the morning. I read whenever I have a spare time. If I have 5 minutes, I will read. I read on my lunch break. I read before I go to bed. I have my Kindle with me at all times. I actually bring my Kindle with me to bars. I have read at bars multiple times. I love reading. I don't have a favorite book, but I do have some favorite books. So in no particular order, the Lincoln Rhyme series by Jeffrey Deaver, that entire series is fantastic. He's one of the only non-fantasy authors I read. It's a crime series. It is phenomenal. My favorite book in that series is The Coffin Dancer, which is the second book in the series. Then anything that Tamora Pierce has ever written, I adore. She's my favorite author. But the Bloodhound series is, with the Becca Cooper series, is amazing. It is so good. I love that whole series. I actually got to meet her recently because she did a book signing in Fort Collins for her new book. And she signed my Becca books. I was so excited. It was amazing. She's such an inspiration. And then also I am ridiculously obsessed with Brandon Sanderson. It's like unreal. You can ask my sister. I won't shut up. And the Stormlight Archive series, if you have not read it and you like fantasy, especially epic fantasy, please, please, please read these books. They are phenomenal. Some of the best fantasy books I have ever read in my life. I just reread the whole series because the third book just came out, and now I'm rereading his Mistborn series, which is also a amazing, amazing series. So I love that. I also love like Patrick Rothfuss. I like Game of Thrones, the books. I'm not caught up on the TV show, but I have read all the books that are out. And Lord of the Rings, obviously. Most fantasy novels I really, really like. So let's see, Instagram. So McKen Ariak says, what are some things that help you get through the day in tough moments? So I have severe anxiety panic disorder, in case you guys don't know. So I am anxious a lot. I get panic attacks very frequently, and I don't respond well to medication. So I deal with that a lot. I deal a lot of that with cognitive behavioral therapy and things like that. But one thing that has proved very helpful that I have recently started doing when I am feeling very down is something that I learned in my yoga class, and it's called Ujjayi breath, or Ujjayi breathing, also called Victorious breath. And basically it is a style of breathing that is used in yoga where you inhale through the nose and out through the nose, and as you inhale out through the nose, you constrict your throat as if you're trying to fog up a mirror, and it's a very loud breathing sound. So it sounds like this. So it's also called ocean breath or Darth Vader breath. Like, colloquially, because as you can hear, it kind of sounds like that. And what it does is, there's actually studies been done on it, and it sends a message to your parasympathetic nervous system, and it helps to calm the fight or flight response. So whenever I get stressed, I kind of switch into Ujjayi breath and focus on my breathing, and sometimes I'll do some yoga poses as well through that, and it's kind of a form of mini meditation for me, and it really does help me when I'm freaking out or panicking or angry or upset. Talia Fast says, do you like to listen to anything while you do art? If so, do you listen to audiobooks, podcast, music? Which one's your favorites? Who do you like to listen to? I had to answer this question because I have to plug some of my favorite podcasts. So I am a huge podcast person. I do like music, but mostly I'll watch TV shows. If I watch TV shows, I'll watch the ones I've watched 100 times: Parks and Rec, Friends, How I Met Your Mother. I like to watch Family Guy. I'm currently watching Futurama. The Office is great. So I love sitcom kind of shows. But for podcasts, I have 3 podcasts that I absolutely adore. So the first is the Jenna and Julian podcast by Jenna Marbles and Julian Solomita, her boyfriend. It is so funny, and it is so, like, it just brings me so much joy and happiness to listen to that podcast. I would highly recommend it. And the other 2 are true crime podcasts. I love true crime. I'm obsessed with it. So the first is Thinking Sideways, which has 3 hosts, and it's a little bit more lighthearted and jokey and fun. And the other one is called Case File. It is a phenomenal, beyond phenomenal podcast. It is so well done. It has an Australian anonymous host, and it is so spooky, and it really gets you into the story, and so respectful, and I love it. It's a phenomenal podcast if you are into true crime. So I think that is just about everything that I have time for. There was a bunch more questions that I wanted to answer, but I don't think I'm going to have time because this video is wrapping up. But I hope you liked this video. I hope you liked hearing my answers to some of these questions. I'm so sorry if I didn't have the chance to answer your question, but if I did answer your question, thank you for asking it. Let me know what you thought of this video and of this Procreate little sketch painting thing down below. If you are new here and you would like to subscribe and join the Wonderland fam, then we would love to have you. Hit the notification bell to be notified every time I upload. I do upload new videos every single Friday. And that is pretty much it. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, have a great rest of your day. Bye guys!